What's up, y'all? Welcome to Sports Speaks on YouTube. As always, we're keeping it real. I'm Shervon alongside my partners RJ, Tyler, Zach, and Eric tonight. First of all, we want to wish everybody well. And guys, how you doing?
We're
Pretty
good.
good.
I'm doing pretty well.
All right.
I'm
Well,
doing pretty good.
first of all, we send our wishes to all the service workers who are fighting the COVID. But we begin tonight with a pretty heavy heart, as we constantly are seeing right now, primarily today, there was an outrage on social media involving Saints quarterback Drew Brees and his comments regarding the flag. And to elaborate more on that, I'm going to turn it over to RJ.
Well, you want to know my thoughts on it? My thoughts? Okay.
Why don't you say what it is first to everybody and then just give your
Okay.
thoughts.
Well, basically, he was on one of those Zoom. I think it was a Zoom or a phone call or something like that, and they asked him about the protests in 2016 and the possibility of the protests coming back this year because of the recent violence against minorities and stuff. And he said that he will never stand he will never kneel and protest against the flag because of because of his grandfather served in the military and stuff like that. And that's what he said. And I'll give my thoughts on it. I think that he was wrong in saying it. I mean, I get that, that's where he stands on it, but I feel like I don't feel like he deserved that much backlash, but I understand why, because at the time, it just feels like his example. This is an example of like we have a long way to go because people still don't realize what's going on in this country, and no disrespect, Drew Brees does not understand that he has white privilege, and he does not understand that, and it's going to be hard for his teammates to understand that. I mean, it's going to be hard for his teammates to forgive him, even though Michael Thomas said he forgave him. Michael Thomas is still feeling some type of way. Other teammates, Malcolm Jenkins, he even had Nick Wright on television today, and I don't even like Nick Wright, and he was like speaking some truth, and he was speaking some facts. Greg Jennings, Max Kellerman, Rob Parker. I mean, it's just that's the situation that we're in.
Tyler, your thoughts?
I will elaborate more, but I want to get everybody else's thoughts.
Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of like what RJ was saying. I think I understand what he's saying, but like RJ was saying, what he has to realize is the people are kneeling specifically for police brutality, and I would agree with him if it wasn't for the fact that that's why they're kneeling, and that's something that is important. It's something that's been going on for far too long. And it's nice to see some unity, especially in sports. It's something, a lot of people around the globe watch. And so that was definitely, I'm not sure, like I say, I think he is a really good guy. He's proved in the past to have good character. I think he maybe just misspoke. But like RJ was saying, I'm hoping that this can kind of spread some more awareness where maybe some people who didn't realize, oh, that's why Kaepernick was kneeling back in 2016 and whatnot.
Eric, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I think the best way for us to overcome this right now is for all people to work together to find concrete solutions, policies, and practices that prevent incidents like this from happening in the future, and having more love, awareness, and compassion for one another on both sides. However, before that happens, two things need to happen. One, Black people and other people of color need to speak up and make their voices heard, which they have been doing, and rightfully so. But second of all, and more importantly, white people need to listen. They need to really listen to the needs and the concerns of the Black community. And Drew Brees and many other people, I'm not just singling him out, but we're talking about him, he's not listening, because at the end of the day, kneeling for the national anthem has never been about the military. It's never been about the flag. It's been about raising awareness of a growing problem in this country, and it's grown to the point that to what we're seeing right now. And so I understand what Drew Brees is coming from. I understand that he's had a different upbringing and a different life than many of his black teammates who may kneel for the national anthem, but he's not listening to what it's really about. He's not listening to what black people are really saying with this whole protest.
Zach, your thoughts?
I agree with Eric here about the thoughts that he's not listening. To, I believe that he needs to understand what they're going through, and it's hard for him to understand since he is a white male, and he just doesn't understand because he doesn't have to go through it through times like this. He doesn't have to worry about getting pulled over and then asked to get out of the car and then getting shot or something. Or so I agree with Eric that he just needs to listen with it.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I do want to give my thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
As someone who has followed the NFL for so long, I find myself in complete disappointment in Brees' choice of words. And I really just don't, I cannot find it any way to say that in a very appropriate way. It's just, I'm really disgusted because I knew from the beginning, RJ, when I first met you, and we talked about this. I told you that I never believed it was about military. I always believed it was about racial injustice, and it was very disappointing that this happened. Primarily from Drew Brees, who we still believe is a good person because of what he did charity wise.
Yeah,
But
he is a good person.
But that doesn't give you an excuse to do something like this, and being someone who has experienced some racist comments himself, I'm sure you guys know when I wrote the story about how a Muslim woman had won election, and then lo and behold on Facebook there was an ambush of comments toward her, to me, and even to my writing partner Hannah Eason, who's one of the best writers I know. She received comments about the work, but thankfully, she's a very strong woman, and I give a lot of love to her as my partner in writing there. And also, I received a lot of comments of displeasure, but at the same time, it just goes to show everybody that it's one thing to not be pleased, but when you see what people say about, certain people having the opportunity to succeed, the old generation is just not accepting to that. And I feel really horrible because whenever I grow up and become a father, which by the way, you guys will be the first to know if I ever, have a child because of how close you are to me as my brothers, besides my own family, of course. But I would never raise my child in such a heinous way. The first thing I would educate him on is, to be a good human being. It doesn't matter how smart or how wonderful you look. Your morals matter. And in this field, primarily all six of us, Justin, of course, is not here tonight, but he would agree when I say this. The main reason behind what people are trying to do is become better citizens and to be a more powerful group for the minorities, because let's be honest, they haven't really had their voice heard, and that really upsets me. Everyone has a right to have their voice heard, but no one wants to hear it. They always believe the old beliefs is the way, and I just feel horrible on it. And
You want to know what upsets me though?
sorry for my voice sounding like that, but I want change. And I just don't like the fact that people are dying, because we're seeing these videos, like people read the newspaper in the morning, like, which is a common thing. It's just happening, and I feel so afraid. Like, I'm really afraid that someday someone we love is gonna be gone as well, and I can't handle that.
Yeah, I agree.
The thing that upsets me is that people are really looking at the kneeling thing, and it's like, you're mad at that. We tried everything. Like, what do you want us to do? I mean, shit. Like, we tried marching for Martin Luther King. That was a problem. We tried kneeling. That was a problem. We tried speaking at award shows about it and urging people, hey, this is a problem. We got ridiculed for it. Every type of protest, minorities have been criticized, bashed, abused. A good example of this is Martin Luther King when he marched he was thrown in jail, leading a peaceful march, and got rocks thrown at his head.
Are you talking about
Rock.
Atlanta or Montgomery? Was it Montgomery that you're talking about, or?
It was either that or he did it in Boston. I know he did a march in Boston, and
Hmm.
he got rocks on his head. I don't know. I forgot.
And if I'm not mistaken, Eric, you're from Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
So, like, before we move on here, can you just? I want everyone here to kind of like give an insight as to what's going on in their cities. Is there any change going on that you guys have seen? So, Eric, I'm going to start with you. Has there been any change going on that you particularly have seen or know of?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's protests happening. We have had our share of rioting and looting, but for the most part, outside of what they show you on the news, it's been mostly peaceful, and it's been mostly good people joining in this. And I think Boston has always been a pretty progressive, a pretty liberal city, but I think we need as a city to take on a larger role in this thing because I don't mean to sound corny or cliche, but this is where this country was born, right here in Massachusetts. And so whenever I see something like this happening in Boston, I get an extreme sense of pride in my city and where I come from, and I hope that we go about it the right way.
Um, Tyler, what about you in New Mexico? Has there been any form of any protests at all, or is there any action to change?
A bit similar to Eric, we've had a good number of protests. Thankfully, not many looting or rioting. Those have tended to happen afterwards. And people have been able to identify that they were not a part of the peaceful protesting. I've just been happy with the communication and awareness that the citizens have really, I am able to really know exactly when they're happening and how you can join. And so I'm glad about that.
Zach, what about you? Anything at all?
There has been protests going on there in Tennessee, but it gets bad at night. That's where the rioters start to happen and they destroy things.
That's just bad enough. Just even
Yeah.
reading stuff. RJ, the floor is yours.
There's protests every single day in Atlanta. Atlanta is a very civil city. It was basically one of the civil rights cities I consider. Martin Luther King is from here. It's very, it has a civil rights museum here. So there's protests every single day. Like usually around 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock. That's when the protests are. So I think earlier as well. There was one where they did one at a police station. I think that was a couple days ago. But other than that, it's been peaceful. But when it first started, though, we did have some riots, and
There was some stuff in Virginia, as well. I'm sure you guys have seen in Washington D.C. with the White House, and even here in Virginia, Centerville area, there have been some stuff. Richmond, as you guys know, where I went to college at VCU, there are removing some statues. There's talk of that they will remove the Robert E. Lee statue, and Mayor LeVar Stoney and Governor Ralph Northam will provide like more updates on that, and I'll get that to you guys. But to all of you all watching out there, please understand that this is a very serious time in our country, and not only do we pray for those who are fighting for what's right, but we pray for those who have been affected, and we wish them nothing but comfort in this time. And so our heart goes out to everyone who's for this moment and movement.
also, I want to touch on this. I saw a video today. I don't know what this woman's name is, but she is the biggest hypocrite that I've seen in the past few days.
Are you talking about Laura Ingraham?
Yes.
Yes.
A few years ago,
The Fox News anchor, excuse me.
2 years ago, she criticized LeBron James and told him to shut up and dribble because he voiced his opinion on President Donald Trump, and that's all he did. He just voiced his opinion. But then Drew Brees, he voiced his opinion on the kneeling and protest, and then he gets praised for it by her. That to me is racism in the media, because she says she told LeBron to shut up and dribble, and he can't say anything. basically she told him in a polite way, shut up because you have no right to talk, basically. But with Drew Brees, he's a good Christian man and he can say whatever he wants. It's ridiculous.
I care, honestly, like, I think I speak for everyone here. It doesn't matter what you say. You can't do that stuff on television.
Those are the kind of people we're trying to replace.
Exactly. That's the problem that we have. That's one of the few problems we have in America. We have people that are not willing to look and reach out and look at what we're going through and see how they can help us. And that's the problem. That's one of the few. There's many problems.
Tyler, you had something to say?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Tyler, go ahead. You had something to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, obviously someday we all hope to be in the media in some sort of way. So let's make it our goal to replace those people. We need a lot less of those people. So
True, and I just think that the group that we have, that our listeners, everyone out there is watching, you're listening to 6 guys overall who they believe in what's right, and we care about every single person out there. Everyone deserves to have their voice, no matter what. It may be bad, it may be angry, and have your voice heard because that's what matters. And we all agree on that. So
Yes.
And before we wrap things up today, we're going to switch to a much lighter topic. With the NBA set to resume play in Orlando, 22 franchises will be making their way to Walt Disney World Resort, and 13 teams will be coming from the Western Conference, 9 teams coming in from the Eastern Conference. One notable team that's not in this thing is the Golden State Warriors, who are projected to have a top lottery pick this year. So the Warriors' run to the finals is obviously over. The Raptors are still in contention to possibly return to the finals as the Eastern Conference champs and defending NBA champs. So let's go around the circle right here. I'm going to start with Zach on this one. Who do you believe will represent the East and the West in the NBA Finals?
Who I think will. 1 second. I gotta do something. So can you go to someone else real quick?
Sure. Fix your time little thing. Let's go to Eric here. Who you got?
Well, I think the NBA Finals will be represented by the Raptors and the Lakers, and the Lakers are my pick to win it all right now. Just based on how dominant they've been this season, and the leadership of LeBron James, the storied organization, especially with Kobe's unfortunate passing this year. I feel like there's going to be a lot of pride and a lot of honor on that team. And so I'd say Lakers, Raptors, and Lakers in 5.
RJ, your thoughts?
I'm gonna say the East. I'm gonna go bold. I think the Eastern Conference Finals will be Bucks and Raptors. I think some way, somehow, the Raptors kind of build off that momentum that they because they're still the defending champs until they lose. I think they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that they lose. I think the Bucks are going to the finals in the East. They're going to represent the Eastern Conference. In the West, I got Lakers in the Western Conference. It's kind of hard because I'm going to go Lakers and Clippers, but I'm going to say Lakers win. And I'm going bold. Lakers win in 6. Because I just think that, in my opinion, the Lakers, I think they had the best chemistry of any NBA team, in my opinion, other than the Bucks and Celtics. In the finals, I have the Lakers winning in 5 because I don't think the Bucks are ready yet. And I think the Lakers are a much more experienced team with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I just think that the Bucks won't be enough. So, and I think that LeBron with the Kobe thing, that's really going to drive LeBron. I think this is going to be a LeBron similar to the performance he had against the Heat and Celtics when it was like Game 6 when he was with the Miami Heat. Like he's going to give a lot of performances like that, a lot of games. So
Right. I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to introduce a new point that I think would be interesting to discuss. The season is supposed to come back, I believe, in mid-July, late July,
July 31st.
July 31st. Okay. So they're giving players just under 2 months to prepare. I feel like this is going to cause some unpredictable finishes. I feel like when you basically just snap teams out of a several month long hiatus and then you say, okay, now you have 2 weeks to prepare, to get in shape, to get your playbook down, to reestablish your team chemistry and all that. I feel like in the playoffs this year, the best team is not always going to win
Oh, I agree.
because of the whole pandemic and
Yeah.
because of the difficulties that we're going to have in getting back to full swing of the season.
There's gonna be some
What
weird
do you
things.
guys think? Do you think that maybe a team that just barely makes it goes far or even wins the whole thing? And if so, who do you think that could be?
I'll go first. I definitely do think that there's gonna be a team that's gonna beat somebody that they're not supposed to beat. For example, this
Right.
could happen. I
That
don't know.
kind of happens every year, but
Yeah, it happens every year. Like
of
I think
course
it
this
might
year.
be like it might be more than one team. Like it might be several. I mean, maybe the Raptors, maybe not the Raptors, but what's the team? I forgot the team that's in. I forgot because like the pandemic and crap. But
I got to pull it up right here. So what team are you looking for? Like
aren't the Pacers in the playoff race? I think.
No.
The-
The weakest in the East right now is the Wizards.
the weakest in the yeah. But they're not in it. Right now. It's the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
because
yeah,
last year,
checking the things, but that's why he's currently not on screen.
but
Yeah.
I just think that's definitely a possibility because when you have a pandemic, and you take a hiatus, it changes the whole landscape, and also this virus has affected every team, like it's affected every sport, and I'm not gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if like a team like if the Raptors win again, and they're not even supposed to win this year. And I think the Raptors are really the team from the East, in my opinion, that can make it far and deep and make a deep playoff run. The West, I would say the Nuggets. That's my pick, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually, kind of. Well, I'll respond to what RJ said. I think it's actually the opposite. If there is that team that falls apart and gets upset, I think it's the Raptors. I don't think they. I think they're a regular season. I think they go back to the pre-Kawhi era, pretty good in the regular season, and then kind of fall apart in the playoffs.
I agree. I think that,
Yeah, like pandemic or not, I probably would have guessed that anyway. So it'll be interesting to
once
see
this whole
though.
thing is over, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like because even last year, well,
they almost lost to the Magic in I think it was in the first round or second round.
No, they lost. They almost lost to Philadelphia in the second round.
Yeah,
No, I mean like I'm talking about
Well, the first round it was the Magic. Yes.
yeah, the Magic they were giving them trouble a little bit. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, and then
But
even
I do agree with you, Tyler. Hold on, sorry. I do agree that like I'm just saying for like the sake of this year that they might do something, but once like this whole pandemic thing is over, we get back to normal. They'll go back to the pre-Kawhi era and like play good in the regular season and choke in the playoffs.
yeah, because that's what I was thinking. But even out west, I think 2018 it was when I believe it was the 6-seeded Blazers like swept the Pelicans.
Yes, that was
Something
it.
like that. So there's always a kind of maybe a random team. But as far as this year,
No, it was opposite. The Pelicans swept the
Pelicans, yeah.
Oh yeah, I knew that didn't sound right. Okay, so there's always something that kind of goes off script. But as far as this year, I'm just sticking to my preseason prediction, which is Celtics and Clippers. I think for the East, I got the Celtics beating the Bucks in 7. People forget that the Celtics are 1-1 against the Bucks, and the game they lost, they only lost by 5 points. They were down, I think, 25 plus, and they almost made that comeback. That was in Milwaukee. And I think they can match up with the Bucks the best. They have a couple of guys that I think could stop Giannis or at least contain him a little bit. And basically, if you stop Giannis, you can pretty much beat the Bucks. So I'm not saying it's going to be that easy, but I think they get it together. And then out west, I think it's easily the LA matchup. Lakers Clippers, but I think Clippers are built for the playoffs and they have the depth, and I think they take it in 6. And then as far as the finals, call me a homer, but I got the Celtics and I'll say in 7. I'll say in 7.
I mean, we have Jason Tatum and
team.
Kemba Walker. I mean, Jason Tatum's pretty lethal, man. He's the future of the NBA.
Tatum, I mean, like I say, Tatum and Kobe, they trained, and I think Tatum's got a little bit of that Mamba mentality. So we'll see.
It's a good take. It's a good take. I agree.
I'm gonna go here and
Thank you.
give my pick, but also Zach, do you want to give your picks pretty quickly?
Yeah, I'll give my picks pretty quickly. So, this is my pick that I really think is gonna happen. It's gonna be, the Bucks and Celtics in the East for the game final, and I say, even though I'm a Celtics fan, I say Bucks win it in Game 6. And then for the what's it called? I say somehow the Pelicans get in, and I say it's gonna be Lakers versus Pelicans, and then Lakers win in Game 5.
Pretty bold.
That's very bold. Wow. Anything could happen.
My picks here. So in the East, I'm going with the Boston Celtics over the Toronto Raptors, if I'm not mistaken, or the Bucks. Either one of them in 7. In the West, I'm going with the Clippers in 6. And I believe that the Boston Celtics will unfortunately fall to the Clippers in 7 hard-fought games. But I think that it will be such a tough series that no matter what, it'll be one of the more remarkable series. And that's just my thought on it. So for all of you guys out there, we thank you guys for listening today. Please make sure to hit that subscribe and that like button. But above all, please make sure to do your part in your community and have your voice heard, not just for what you believe in, but please do it for someone who you care about, because we're all a family. This is not a divisive group. We are a family, and we are a group of friends, and we will come together, and justice will be served. And I can promise that. So from all of us here at Sports Speaks, for Justin, for Zach, for Tyler, for Eric, for RJ, and Shravan, me, we want to say good night to all of y'all. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, and do your part, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.